We are back on Big Ten today. USC looking the part of a Lincoln Riley offense, 4 games in, top 5 in the nation in every category you see here, including first nationally in yards per play and plays at 50 yards or longer. This week going to Illinois to take on a team that allowed 579 yards last week in that blowout loss to Indiana. And Jerry, it feels like Lincoln Riley must be licking his chops at least a little bit heading into this game. How do you expect them to attack the Illini?
Yeah, he's an interesting offensive coordinator, as we've talked about, and he deserves his reputation as one of the best. And one of the reasons I think he's one of the best is you never know how he's going to start the game. He may start the game throwing the ball downfield. He may start the game running the first 4 or 5 plays. It's really hard to get a handle on it. When you talk about this matchup, I would think after Illinois struggled mightily on defense, 579 yards, or whatever you just said there, Rever, 63 points, I would think that he will open the game when he's on offense very, very aggressive. He will try to continue to attack Illinois, making the defensive unit, the players, not the coaches, continue to have confidence issues in their defense. You don't give up 63 points and feel really good about your defense if you're a defensive player. And so I would think he's going to be very aggressive, whether it's run or pass. My guess is it's going to be pass first, and it's going to be downfield early and often in the game. So I think that's going to be his approach. His offensive line is playing really, really well. So the running game is also going to be an issue. On the other side of the ball, I think that when you give up that many yards and when you give up that many points, there has to be something wrong with what you're doing. You can't have new players play, right? So you have to look at the scheme. I think most coaches in that situation, giving up that many yards and that many points, would probably say we should simplify. Let's just get our 11 guys lined up right. We're playing a complex, multiple offense. The last thing we need to do is have a bunch of checks, this defense for this formation, this defense for that formation. Let's try to play as base defense as we can and see if we can prevent the explosives and try to get some turnovers. And that bleeds over to the Illinois offense. So the Illinois offensive game plan is going to be based on how the Illinois defense does. If the Illinois defense is struggling, then they're going to have to slow the tempo down. You know, there's no sense rushing through every possession. If the Illinois defense is hanging in there, then obviously this Illinois offense can be more explosive and more wide open. Brett Bielema, I've said this many times, he's one of the best game managers in the country, and Lincoln Riley is one of the best play callers in the country. So it doesn't look like it would be that big an X and O matchup, but I think it could really turn into one.
The challenge, I think, for Brett Bielema is that USC is really good at everything that Illinois has been shown to struggle with. I mean, you were talking about the offensive side of the ball for USC, and the Illini are 105th in pass efficiency defense. You've got, by the end of that game against Indiana, they had 6 of their top 7 defensive backs out of the game, either with injury or, in one case, targeting. So whether or not they get all those guys back this week, obviously you get the one targeting ouster back in the game, but you know, you got a lot of injury issues to deal with. And then, man, the offensive line, Jerry, I mean, they can't line up and run the ball, and they just have so much trouble in pass protection. And now you've got USC, who's tied for first in the nation in sacks. It just feels like a really bad recipe for the areas in which Illinois is struggling.
Yeah, so let's go back. We'll start with defense based on what you just said, right? They're struggling. The secondary is all banged up or not together. Another big reason to be simple. I mean, you're not going to trick anybody on Saturday, right? You have an experienced play caller going against, so be simple. You're talking about the offensive line. Going into the season, if you could say one area of concern for Illinois, it would have been the offensive line. And it has turned out to be the offensive line. And that's another reason why you base your offensive game plan based on how your defense is doing. There's no sense being up-tempo. There's no sense throwing the ball more than you're running the ball. I mean, you've got to manage this game to keep it close and then try to win it at the end. And there's always a team being overconfident. Overconfident teams, if SC would come in overconfident, they turn the ball over. They have unforced errors. They have more penalties. And so there's a little bit of that. I mean, you don't control that as Illinois doesn't control that, but that sure would help if it happens. And sometimes in these games that look like it's a slam dunk, the result, sometimes it doesn't happen that way because the favorite team makes too many mistakes because they think all they have to do is show up and that they've invented the game.
And to your point, penalties have been an issue for USC. They have the most penalty yards in the Big Ten so far this year. And we know how good Brett Bielema is. We've spent a lot of time around him from his time at Wisconsin to his time at Illinois. There's a reason they were ranked 9th in the country going into that Indiana game. They still have some really good players, a really well-coached team. Be fascinated to see how they come out in that game.